needed, but we'll make do with what we've got for right now. It's gonna be cozy. Welcome everybody. We've got a couple long days ahead of us. We'll do our best to stay on time, which we haven't yet, so we'll start off at some point, get there. But, okay, just contractors that are here today, just so you're aware, you don't need to be here on Wednesday morning in person, but please be available online or by telephone on Wednesday morning. As you've seen a little bit of our agenda, we're going to go today, tomorrow, and I hate talking this way. So today, tomorrow is our deliberations, we'll sell our things done. And then Wednesday morning, we'll start the deliberations. And if there are any questions or anything, please be available Wednesday morning to take any calls or questions of that type of things. Appreciate y'all coming. Again, I really want to thank the board for being here. Commissioner Ball was with us this morning for a little while, which was nice. Deputy Commissioner Howard is with us, and we thank the department for all the work they put in. So now I guess we'll get going. We will probably do questions. Hope you guys have left questions in your presentations, question time, so we can do some questions today and then move for anything further on Wednesday. Julie, am I missing anything?
I don't think so. Good job. Thanks.
I think that was the main thing. Roll call. Roberta.
Here.
Jason. Here. Julie.
Here.
Kim.
Here.
Alicia.
Yes, here.
Dean. Here. Judy.
There.
Sarah.
Here.
At this point, Carl is missing until maybe another half hour, I think.
Okay. 12:30 to 1.
Okay. So, department, anything on our side that you want to throw in?
More chairs are coming.
Okay. Do you think we'll get a bigger room? Okay. This is a trial and error thing, right? Okay. So let's start. Eileen and group. Oh,
Time out.
hang on. Julie, you were supposed to catch that.
Yep. Good job, Elizabeth.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Approval of last minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Good.
Take two.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Got it.
Yep. Good.
All right, well, maybe Larry will get you back on track already with time, but thank you guys for the opportunity to join you today. I know it's gonna be a long couple days ahead, but we're excited to tell you a little bit about what NYSDPO has planned for the next year. We aren't gonna spend a lot of time on who we are, so we're gonna jump right into it with our request, and we're gonna start with the Dairy Cow Birthing Center. So Hannah will talk a little bit about that.
So we're making the same ask that we asked last year. We were asking for $100,000. We just finished up our 12th year of the Dairy Cow Birthing Center at the New York State Fair. We will tell you how awesome and successful that was here in a couple months. But we had a really great year. We had a lot of new and returning visitors. Year after year, we hear the same comments of, this is my 12th year coming, this is my 8th year coming, or didn't even know this was down here, so excited that I found it. So variety on all aspects of the spectrum, which is really, really great to have those new faces, but also see those faces come back again and again because it's just the reason they come to the fair. Having issues. There were minimal this year. So if you are an avid watcher, you might have seen that we really didn't have a lot of issues. We had one twisted uterus. We had a hard pull early in the morning before most people were there. But other than that, it was pretty successful as far as calvings go. Also didn't have our wonderful activist friends show up this year and spread the good word that they usually do. We didn't have any problems with them this year, so it was really great. As far as our tough conversations or those, you know, we usually talk about that movable middle, having those conversations with the folks a little bit past the movable middle was very minimal this year. As far as we had a lot of great open conversations with people about, you know, this is what I believe and this is why I believe it. And here's what we do at the birthing center. Let's see if we can find some middle ground. And most of the times that's what happened, and it was awesome. We did send 7 cows home this year, still pregnant. All of them obviously have since freshened, but we did have 29 total calves where we typically expect to have at least 36. And we're gonna look at our protocols and see that induction process and the selection process of those cattle, due dates, things like that.
For the all black calves.
The majority are black calves, yes. And that is one of our number one questions that we get asked is, why does it not have beautiful spots like its mom? Some people want to know if the spots come later. So, you know, having those conversations of, here's why they're black, they will not get spots eventually, and having that conversation.
We had increased security around our calf pen with being black calves, so they were all protected.
Right. So we had, again, if you don't know, we send out text messages. We broadcast the entire thing live on YouTube. So we have thousands of people watching this event throughout the duration of the fair. We don't know who these people are necessarily, you know, it's just a face behind a screen. However, sometimes we get the very unique opportunity of learning where these people are tuning in from. And this was probably the coolest that we had this year. So I wanted to tell you.
So we had a message come through on our NYAC Facebook page, private message from this guy named David. He was watching from Buffalo, he said. And he really enjoyed when Brian, who's on our mobile dairy experience, if you met him, he was on the microphone throughout the duration of the fair. So he really enjoyed listening to Brian, and he kept saying, we want to hear more of Brian. We want to hear Brian's story. And he told us that he was working with the captain of the Maid of the Mist. So for the last 9 years, the captain, it's the first female captain of the Maid of the Mist, watches the birthing center as she's captaining the boat on the Maid of the Mist and at work all day, watching the cows being born. So we thought that was a really cool story. Took it one step further. The next day, David messages us again. He's sitting in the stands at the birthing center, took a picture and sent it to us and said, where's Brian? And we introduced Brian to him, made that connection. He's so excited. He'd never been to the birthing center before, but because of our exposure with the mobile dairy experience, we made kind of bridge the gap there and had some really great conversations. So for David to drive across the state just because of the people he hears on the microphone, and then that connection with the Maid of the Mist was kind of a unique one that we were excited to share this year.
So as always, you know, our main messages are to talk about that our farmers care for their cows. That's a big one, animal care during the fair. Another major question that we get asked is, what is the big black spinning thing in the middle of the pen? So our cow brush, everybody is so intrigued by that. Obviously, all the dads make the joke of, oh, I wish I had one of those at home. You know, it's a very great segue into the conversation of, these are the steps that our farmers are taking to care for these cows at home. Talking about that the dairy products that they're consuming are not only readily available for them, but also healthy and nutritious. We have our storefront, as always, that we sell cheese and milk from. And then talking about that, the people at the birthing center are the ones that can provide them with the most factual information. And that sometimes, you know, the voices online might be louder, but they're not necessarily the most trustworthy. So we had our wall of knowledge again. We've done a few things differently in the past couple of years as far as how we put that up. It's become a really smooth process. We utilized a lot of the materials that we already had perhaps since building this wall. And we just put those up to show people in a different way. You know, for those learners that might not necessarily sit in the bleachers all day long to listen to our volunteers, how they can get some of that same information in other ways. So visually, they can read it. There's puzzles. There's a ton of really fun hands-on learning things for them to do there. As far as our collaborative efforts go outside of NYAC, so we work closely with a variety of groups to help not only promote the event, but also share those key messages. So we see a huge spike in our audience during the month of August and September, just because so many people are tuning into the Birthing Center. So we really hone in on that and share some really core information during that time as well. So whether it's through blogs, whether it's through Burt Media sharing things on social media, us sharing important messages on social media that all relate back to like that cow care or just like general information that we want the public to know. We really amp that up during the state fair to make sure that it has the impact to the masses that are there. So some of those fun questions that we get asked, we got asked this year, there were 2 cows in the pen and a calf. They wanted to know if that was the mom, dad, and baby. We had to let them know that no, most of the dads are either in Wisconsin or probably not around. So we had, just those questions that you don't necessarily think people are asking. They are absolutely asking those questions. Yeah, if you were there and you got a good one, we'd love to hear it sometime. It just makes it a lot more fun. So this is our same ask as last year as far as our breakdown, but again, that $100,000 budget broken down for you to.
So now we'll jump into the mobile dairy experience. I want to introduce Jessica is here with us. She's going to be talking a little bit about her role and her company's role that she plays in the mobile dairy experience. So DPO goals have remained the same, is really helping to improve the image of dairy products and being inclusive based on where events are going, being more inclusive to diverse populations with where this experience takes it across the state. So our project goals, again, have remained the same too. We want to bring the farm to the people, bring that story. When we developed this project, it was every piece of the puzzle needed to be represented, not just talking about dairy products and the health benefits, not just talking about life on the farm, but it wanted to tell the whole story. As I mentioned, visiting diverse populations. So this year we've had success in everywhere from Queens to Buffalo to Watertown. And we want to continue to expand those events in the coming year. Again, with proactive messaging. So I think everyone around the table has been through this and can attest to the positive messaging of all aspects of the experience within. So I'll let Jess talk a little bit about Trigger House. Trigger House is the organization that we hired to collaborate with to help manage this experience.
Thanks for the introduction. It's nice to meet everybody. As mentioned, we kind of brought the mobile dairy experience to life with the hopes that it gets out in front of people and kind of write directly, talking to them directly. That is what Trigger House does. It is a marketing agency, but we have a group that is really fine-tuned on in-person, real-life experiences. I think you can see things that happen virtually, you see concerts that happen, but really those moments where you can get people interacting with the brand, touching the brand, building that emotional connection, building and fostering the education behind it. That's where we kind of bring things to life. Anybody who's tried to plan a birthday party or a wedding, small things like that, it always takes, they're not even small, but they always take a lot more planning than you ever expect them to, or ever think that you'll have the time to do. So that's where our group comes in. We are able to support brands who want to get these events up and running, who want to continue the brands going year after year. The way we are structured at Trigger House is we have in-house capabilities to handle everything from start to finish of a concept through the execution. But we get to work with all of our different clients as well, figure out what makes the most sense for each of them. So this year we were able to work with Eileen and team. We provided our operations and production group. Basically, our operations are the account managers. They are the ones who are watching the budget, watching the timelines, managing all the communications to make sure everything stays on track, hearing the feedback, adjusting accordingly. We have our production team who are, they have know all the little ins and outs of making mobile tours and other events happen near flawlessly. We specifically on this one, we have our logistics and transportation. They're watching the DOT hours on all the drivers, our tour managers, Yeah, we're checking assets. We're making sure that all the pieces within the trailer are working properly. As people go through them and start playing and handing and touching, they, we see what the threshold is for things to be able to work properly, where we might need to adjust, fix, and look ahead to the future. If it's ever needed, we're also set up with our studios team. We can respond to any ask that we get. We have an idea, how would you bring it to life? Or we have a new product, what would you do? We can concept, we can develop, we can create just design and illustration. And then finally, we have in-house fabrication services. So we can build very specific builds. We can customize trailers. We can do a lot of things, metal, woodworking, everything in-house. So we, like I said, we work with our clients. We kind of figure out what is needed along the way. Just have to kind of talk through that. I think we get to, it's really nice that we get to do a whole breadth of variety within our overall events that we do. We have several mobile tours on the road right now. One of them specifically, we're working with you guys, but we also have Empire State Development and their I Love New York tours. We've got Harley Davidson and their Pan Am tour. So mobile is actually a very big key piece for all of us. But we do everything from, I don't even know, we do so many things. But we do live concerts, we do brand pop-up stores. We're really able to focus in again on getting product in hand to people. And just to give a quick introduction, I know we're going to talk a little bit about the guys you've probably seen on the road with the trailer, but the team behind the scenes working, we've got Kevin, Kennedy, and Ben. Kevin is really spearheading the seniority of the project, and he's the one that has all the DOT tracking. For better or worse, he has really taken on to that role over the past several years. He probably looks at over 100,000 miles nationwide vetting for different groups for us and making sure everybody's staying compliant. Kennedy's come in and has really spearhead the overall account management and communications side. And then Ben is our production extraordinaire. He's very nice that he has a little bit of background with actual fabrication as well. So we kind of have the best of both worlds all paired together.
So Jess and her team played a vital role in finding our new crew. So if you remember a year ago from right now, there was a lot of hesitation and question of, will you even find people that can fit this role? And we did. We found, this is our dream team right here. It's Brian and Ryan. For those of you that have met them, they are, I call them versatile rock stars. They have immersed themselves into this experience, which is what they do when they're on their mobile tours. The two of them have worked together in the past on previous tours. That was something that was very unique when Jessica and her team brought us people to interview, was these two people have worked together before. These were our top candidates. They both said yes. Can't say this for sure on paper, but they both have indicated they are very excited to come back next year, which is awesome to find two people that want to repeat a tour. Sometimes if they're on a national tour, one thing that's unique with ours is they feel like they play a role. They met when they worked on the US Olympic tour when the Olympics were in Sochi, Russia. And when you think about a national brand like that, or an international brand like that, or Coca-Cola, they're passing out flyers, they're passing out tchotchkes. Here, they feel like they've really made a difference because when you guys walk into the trailer, you already know them. And so people too many times have said, oh, Brian, it's really nice to meet you in person. I know so much about you. It's like, where in the world did you hear that? So they really feel like they've made a difference and made an impact here. So they really have immersed themselves. Ryan has a dairy background. Brian does not. Brian is our ideal client or our ideal audience. He has immersed himself in telling that story from our audience perspective. So we did a lot of training with them at the beginning. We took them to farms. They have a three-way text message, myself and two of them. They text me every single day if they have a question that they can't answer at the trailer to tell them how the events went. So our new crew is truly the dream team. So let's talk just a little bit about current numbers, the success that we've had this year, and explain a little bit about this. When we are done with the tour, we will have hit 40 events. They are just ended one yesterday here in Syracuse. We've got 4 more to round out the year. These are numbers through state fair, but I'm going to have Jess explain a little bit of the difference between these first two numbers of visitors walking through the trailer and the impressions.
So the impressions is generally, the best way to sum it up is your overall reach, where you think you can get the message out to. Using State Fair as an example, I think we could say maybe 80,000 people attend on a day. They know, they might see a messaging that the mobile experience is there. They might walk past it, but decide not to go in. They might just see it in a pamphlet somewhere. So it's basically how many people could this reach. Where we're going to go into throughput is how many people actually go through the experience. So they walk in, they touch the trailer, they are in the trailer. And then to expand upon that, where we have some other numbers later on and that are available in other recaps, is the engagement. So once you're in the trailer, are you scanning the QR codes? Are you listening to the farmers' stories? It always we always get the question too of what is success in this front and how it's measured. It sounds kind of silly, but when you look at the impressions versus your throughput and versus your engagement, 1 to 3% is actually considered a success. There are very few places in the world where you hear something about being 1% and that being a good thing on a measurement scale and a reach. But for us, 1 to 3, 5 is usually exceptional. So we always try to set expectations with everyone where it's post hits, 500 people, but only one person looks at it. Okay, we have a little bit of group to go to, but if you get 5, 10, 50, that's not a bad thing.
So then some of the other areas of kind of looking at those analytics is this rating knowledge of dairy as you walk through. The very first thing you say, we're asking people is, what is your knowledge? What is your understanding of dairy? We kind of expect that to be a little bit lower because we want them to, at the end, to then rate the experience and tell us what their experience was and what they learned as a higher output. And then this breakdown here, 17 schools, 6 festivals, 4 carnivals, fairs, 5 community events, and 2 museums, the breakdown of this year thus far. We want to tweak that a little bit. So as we were talking about throughput, so 17 schools, we think is kind of a little bit on the high side, because if you think about it, when we go to a school, we only have 800 students in that school district that can go through. If we're at a carnival, a fair, community event, that number is really endless. And so we want to kind of shift that audience and shift that event number for next year, maybe less schools, and increase that community portion. So we've learned a lot this year in the initial year, just like you do in any first year of business, first year opportunity to do something. So we want to talk a little bit about a couple areas that we want to improve on. One of those being the grocery store section. And I know that some folks have talked personally to us about this. We had to get through the first year to figure out what works, what doesn't work, how can we tweak something? Do we need to change something entirely? We want impact. At the end of the day, we want impact. We want people to engage. We also need to change those perceptions. So when we're talking about this grocery store section, this is the last piece of the puzzle that you see before you leave, but it's the first piece that maybe students see with their parents on the way home from school at the grocery store. So we want them to have those connections. However, when you scan those barcodes, information comes up on the screen. However, at a school, all it does is go beep, 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 beep. And I really don't care if 3,000 people scanned the whipped cream. That doesn't tell us anything. It doesn't tell us that we've changed their minds. It doesn't tell us that they know how to use whipped cream or, cottage cheese or any other products that are shown. So we really want to spend some time in the off season utilizing the expertise and knowledge at Sugar House to really recreate this section of what is going to make more sense in terms of engagement, ROI, and impact in that section. Similarly, in that sustainability section, when you walk through the trailer and you walk to the right, it's all about the farm. We've got the calf hutch, we have a TV screen, we're showing bedding, we're showing feeding. So there's things to do, see, feel, and touch. When you go to the left, the sustainability section, it's kind of, there's not a lot to do. And so we want to, again, improve this section a little bit with the engagement. Again, to show that impact and to have real life numbers of engagement and perceptions changing. So again, we want to look into how do we change this. That has, both of these sections have a lot of different levels, depending on, the creative process of Sugar House. We can change messaging. We can go all the way to adding more technology. There's definitely a range and opportunity there. And then communication. So not necessarily something in the experience, but we have realized and learned that we need to improve some communication. One being farmers. We want farmers at these events, not just to see where their checkoff dollars are going or where their investments are going, but we also want them to engage in conversations with these visitors. So we, as an organization, NIAC, need to do a better job at communicating where this trailer is going, where this experience is going, and what role can local farmers play in that. And we just want to do more improvement of communication to our host events, our host sites, pre and post event, what went well, what didn't go so well, how can we do better? And then also we have over 150 requests for this. We need to do a better job at getting in touch with the people that we aren't visiting and explain why, because there is some rhyme and reason to where we're choosing to go. We aren't going to drive from Buffalo to Plattsburgh back to Rochester. So we are moving our way across the state to be as efficient as possible.
So some of the folks and opportunities we've had as far as communication goes to work with, we worked really closely with Courtney Place Communications, who you all are going to hear from later on. But to get that earned media and to really see how far our reach can go. So this next year, we really want to focus on Dairy Month events, how we can get the public not only at the trailer, but how they can learn about this opportunity. That's kind of a really big way that our requests have continued to roll in, is you have the principal of a school come through a community event and say, how can I get this at A, B, C, or D? So having that earned communication not only gets people to the trailer, but also expands on the opportunity to get this at other events. So we've had some success with some of our summer events, public events, as far as our earned media goes. And we're going to continue working with Courtney Place as well as for media in the upcoming year. So a really close relationship between the three of us, being NIAC, Burt Media, and CPC, is we meet often monthly to talk about the upcoming month. So what events are coming up, what national farmer or dairy associated days are coming up, and how can we best pool our efforts and our resources together so that we're not duplicating and so we're all getting the best bang for our buck. So one of the ways we do that is Burt Media shares on the New York Dairy page about when our local dairy experience is going to be at a public event. So we don't broadcast our private events, meaning mostly schools, because you can't have anyone show up for those events. So all of our public events, they have taken the opportunity to share those on their stories. We reshare them. It's a great way to get the word out about that. The other, we're going to
Sure. Like, if we have something going on at our school, we open up evening hours for the whole family to come. Have you thought about doing that?
Yeah, so it's school to school basis. So some schools have. We had our first event was at Attica when we had the announcement of the New York, in the classroom teacher. Yep. Okay, got that, Katie. There we go. When we had that, and they had an excellent after hours community event that evening. We've had it where some other schools have tried to do similar things and hasn't been quite as successful. So that's another thing we're looking at in the upcoming year is if we are at a school, how can we create more of a community event after hours where we're getting everybody in there with local vendors and community organizations and things like that to kind of make it more of a community event rather than just, hey, after soccer practice, you know, this trailer is in the parking lot kind of thing. So that is definitely an opportunity that we've looked at and been successful and then not so successful. As far as other organizations, yes. So the Dairy Ambassadors, we've utilized their capabilities, their expertise on numerous events. So we have coordinated and collaborated with them to come to events and help with either cabs or give tours. Similarly with local FFA chapters. So they have been doing some social media, some collaborative posts and things like that with us as this makes its way across the state, which has been awesome to hit audiences as well as our existing audience.
So our anticipated 2026 calendar, we did a January through December, looking at the whole year of what would happen. And so really kind of what we call the off season. So the tour is ending here in October. And then it's actually going back out to Craftsman to get a little bit of warranty work done. So it's really important that we have this ready to go in the off season. Again, kind of January, February timeframe. Our goal is to have this launch again on National Ag Day in March, like we did this year. We've talked with Katie about possibly collaborating again on that announcement of the national or the Teacher of the Year, Brag in the Classroom, and having that be a platform that both of us can utilize. And then again, working through the springtime at schools, and then some of the more of the fairs, festivals, community events in the summer, coming back to State Fair and rounding out the fall again with maybe some colleges woven into that, or in the early springtime as well. Some folks have asked, are you going to go back to schools? Our goal is not to go back to a school that we've already been to. Because if you think about it, if we had K through 8 come through that school and we go back next year, the only new kids are probably going to be those kindergartners. And so our goal, because we have over 150 requests for this, is to go back to all new schools when selecting schools. The fairs, festivals, community events, we, Brian and Ryan do a summary after each event and tell us what went well, what didn't go so well. Would this be a repeat event? One example is Taste of Buffalo. Amazing event. We're about close to 6,000 people through there over 2 days. Amazing conversations. I wanted to spend about 2 hours just kind of visiting, and I spent all 8 hours there because I just couldn't get away. So really great event, possible repeat event. So I want to talk a little bit about, again, capturing success, capturing those analytics, capturing that data of how are we changing, what is that ROI, and how are we making an impact. So it's so much more than just the attendance number, but we want to continue to utilize these tools. Do we change the question this year? Do we have multiple questions, and how do we gather feedback? One of the things we talked about with Trigger House is, can you kind of explain the GPS locator?
Bluetooth low energy beacon tracking, and essentially what it does is we can set it up on the outskirts of the trailer, and anybody who has Bluetooth enabled on their phone at the most minimal level, it will just send out little beacons, little pings, and it's able to kind of gather more who's in the surrounding areas. It's great in public, large public events. So when you're told that you might have 80,000 people as your impressions and what your reach is, you'll be able to see that maybe 20,000 of them are the ones within your vicinity, within 30 to 50 meters of your space. You can get a little bit more upgraded with it and build out a system so that beacon energy actually ties to your own customated app if you want to go down the route of developing that. And that way you can engage with people directly on their phones. And obviously they will take the onus on downloading the app. You communicate with them, but then you can message them directly. They can get fun little surprises and you can engage them in different ways.
So that's just one idea that we've talked about in Trigger House, but because they have that expertise in all of their other tours of how do they measure success, that is one area that we want to continue to engage with. New partnerships. So we want to touch on this a little bit. The guys are actually heading there today. So Wadham's Trucking, located in Phillips, New York. We have some really great farmers on our NYAC board and farmers that have supported this experience that work directly with Wadham's Trucking. And they have agreed to help us with some of the maintenance. So preventative maintenance, on-road assistance, some of it we're hoping for in kind. We have developed a contract with them with lower at-cost services. The best thing that they ever did was they handed Brian and Ryan a binder of contacts. So when they were in Rotterdam, New York, after the State Fair, and they blew a tire, and it was 7 o'clock at night, and not a single service person was going to come visit them, they opened up their binder from Wadham's, and they had a guy there in 60 minutes, help them get them back on the road. So the contacts that Wadham's has is invaluable. Brian and Ryan have been on the road for 20 plus years. They have never, ever had a relationship like this before in their other tours. Invaluable to them. Future possibilities, our hope is to utilize Wadham's to store this in the off season. Possibly, fingers crossed, have a conversation of getting a tractor from them. Right now we rent that. That's dollars and cents to rent a tractor for a 7 or 8 month rental and put hours on that. It could be something that we utilize either from Wadums or someone else. And then just, again, continued connections of how they can help us. They came out to an event, Seneca County Fair, and did some preventative maintenance because we had a day between when the guys set up and the fair opened. So they were able to do that within our own schedule. They're headed today to get the generator service and get, again, preventative maintenance on their way to the next event. So it's nothing that is interrupting our schedule.
So we talked a little bit about the collaborations that already exist. Some of the other ones that we have, again, Ag in the Classroom with some events, Milk for Health. So talking about events out in the Buffalo area, trying to work more closely with the Buffalo City Schools, maybe getting into the Museum of Play and things of those, type public events. Working with the ambassadors at more events that really helps to have just those extra faces with the dairy knowledge to answer questions. Also, a familiar face in the community. A lot of people really get that. DMI, so when we're looking at messaging, we're looking at how we're going to improve this trailer for tour season number 2, utilizing that data and statistics that they have available. For media, again, and recording place communications to talk about that promotion and the media across to hit the wider audience.
So then in summary, this is our breakdown. I just want to explain that you're looking at the same numbers, but just broken down even further. So these are overall kind of line items. We broke that down even more so that you could see that 401,000 broken down. And then if anything was over $100,000 on that budget, we broke it down even more with explanations of what that covers. And we can come back to this as we'll wrap up here. Just saying, we wanted to share what others are saying. So these are items that were captured in that kind of exit survey feedback that folks have inputted as they're exiting. Our favorite, which we don't know when this happened. We love it here. My boyfriend proposed to me in this trailer. We don't know when it happened. We went back on our security footage to see if we can see it. Based on the time frame, they gave us that feedback at State Fair, but we have no idea. Maybe that's going to be our goal, is we got to find out who got proposed to in this trailer. But great feedback.
Next year.
Yeah, we talked about tour season becoming wedding venue.
Endless opportunities, right? Great feedback that we've received. And I don't want it to look like all sunshine. We do get constructive feedback of at one event, like the volume was down at a larger event at Taste the Buffalo. The volume was down on the TVs, and one person said couldn't hear anything. The subtitles had gotten turned off. So there's constructive feedback that we get at the tip of our fingertips. So again, I think I've mentioned this in the past, that if I get 4 or 5 negative comments in a row, an alert comes up on my phone. And so I can say, okay, what's going on? What's happening? But Kennedy on Justice team reviews all of this at the end of the event, takes the summary from Brian and Ryan, puts all of it together for us to then analyze and say, great event, so-so event, let's go back there, let's revisit. And then finally, this is a gentleman that I met at the Taste of Buffalo. We had a great conversation about everything from every part of that story inside this experience. I asked him, I said, can you please just tell us that, like write that down. This was his full, feedback back to us. And he is just someone that was just genuinely interested. He was that movable middle, just had questions, had no idea where to go to talk about dairy products and the food that he eats. So really, really great connection that we made at a really great event of Taste of Buffalo. So with that, we will say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and we will answer any questions you might have.
Right on schedule. So 10 minutes for questions. Well done.
And we also have Joel Reelman here, dairy farmer, but also the chairman of our NAC board, if any questions need to be pointed to him as well.
So board members, we're going to go to the microphone for any of your questions because people can't hear.
They can hear us.
They can't hear you.
You sound like the teachers in Charlie Brown. Yeah.
Okay, who's got questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, certainly. I do think what you guys do is excellent. at State Fair, there's only excellent comments, great comments. I love the,
We have a lot of time for that.
okay. So, one of the things that I did spend time looking through your budget that you proposed. And one thing you did not even talk about is NIAC new position, 100,000.
Yeah.
Who is that? Or what's your thoughts?
Yep, great question. I should have mentioned that in some of those new sections. So we've looked at our staff internally, which is, you're looking at it. And we've heard for so many years too, is you do so much with so little, so much with so little. This was an incredibly overwhelming year to launch this, to do everything that we've always done. And then let's add this to it. So as a board, we've talked about possibility of adding a new person to just manage the mobile dairy experience, to allow us to then be part of that, but not necessarily be our full day, our day job is managing this. Because in the last year, that's really what it has felt like, is we put everything else on the back burner that NIAC does and focused on this. We needed to and we wanted to, but we want that person to dive deeper into, so that new person is not around yet, but we want that person to dive deeper into the success. Is it working? If it's not, let's change it. Dive deeper into those new sections that we want to make impactful, engaging, and make them successful right from the get-go. You know, we want them to dive deeper into the analytics of how are we gauging the feedback. That person can be that main contact for setting the schedule, helping Sugar House set that schedule at the best and most impactful event. So it's really a lot, it's growing our team, but it's allowing us to continue to do everything at full capacity instead of 150 cities.
We have a very collaborative working relationship. Weekly calls, pre-scheduled. We have several touch bases throughout the week too, whether it's making adjustments on the fly or getting ahead of things and being proactive with the communication.
So on that same note, there's also a line in project management, 200,000. Is that Trigger House?
That is the Trigger House. So that is,
So this new manager would kind of be doing some of the same stuff, but
There's potential there. When we talked with Trigger House of what is the budget, we said, okay, here's a budget if they do everything, including making that schedule, being all the communication similar to this year. And then we said, okay, can we be more efficient? Can we make changes? Can we take some of that in-house where NIAC staff person, whoever that might be, can they be the contact and help make that schedule? Can they do some of that project management, the communication? So our hope is to make it as efficient as possible for both sides.
so the budget that we approved last year was 700,000. This one's higher. Number of events, are you looking at more events corresponding with it?
Yeah.
And there was some donations from area businesses in Deer Street as well.
Yeah, so a couple of things that you're
So one of the things is yes, more. So this year we did 40, our goal next year is 45. The other thing that you don't know until you know is to go to Wegmans, specifically this event that we came across, Wegmans in Manhattan. The first few red tapes we got to added up to over $50,000 to get it there. So we are looking at this year, trying to get into some of those larger events. So potentially, higher volume of people, but it is very much, you have to invest in being in those locations. So just with permits and things like that. So not only are we going to try and do a few more, we're also going to try and do some of those larger events.
And then to your point, your question about funds from other people and other industry folks, you're absolutely right. We have done that. We've solicited that. We've been successful. However, as an organization that represents dairy farmers, we would be doing a disservice to our mission and the people we represent if we weren't here asking for funds to support this as well. So that's why we feel we're here, is to ask for those funds because that's who we represent.
How much did you obtain from outside funding, and is it an annual?
So it's over. It's over a 3 to 5 year period of, so people had the opportunity to donate a one-time pledge or pledge, not necessarily write the check out, but they pledge a yearly commitment of 3 to 5 years and it totals $1 million. That doesn't mean we have $1 million sitting in our bank account, but that's just verbal.
Where can you add on the fairground as far as the barn and stuff of that nature? Because that's looking forward.
Absolutely. So there's been conversations with the state fair this year about a permanent structure in the future that would house the Dairy Cow Birthing Center. That's kind of where it's landed, is we have seen a design. The state fair and OSG has asked us for feedback on that design. We've given feedback and that was in February. And that's where it has ended at this point. We continue to ask them for updates. Where are we at? What's that timeline? There is no updates or timeline there. The original timeline they gave us last February when we had these conversations was the fall of fair of 2027. They anticipate us to be in a building, but again, we haven't had updates in 6 or 7 months. So there's conversations. It's probably further along than we have seen in previous years.
Other questions?
So last year when we talked about the budget, you guys indicated that you would be charging for some events. Has that happened and will that happen?
Yeah, so this year we did everything in kind, is that the right term? So we went to the 40 events free of cost for all of the people that hosted that. We talked, so that's been a continual discussion in-house of our aim is to build tiered price scale of if you are a school, it's at minimal cost. If you are a farmer organization or it's at the farm, it's going to be at cost. If you are a for-profit business, we are going to charge you to be there, set number. But other than having that conceptual idea of how that's going to be structured, that's as far as we're gotten. But I think the goal is to have tour season 2 be more of a tiered structure of covering our costs.
Other questions? 1 minute.
Minute 30.
Get Wednesday morning too, don't we?
Oh, just my question would be contingency if it's not fully funded here. What do you do?
Yeah, that's
How does that affect your whole program?
Yep, that's a great question. So we think back to a year ago, we asked for a certain level and we didn't get fully funded for that. We go back to the drawing board with our partners and say, what can we do? What can't we do? This is what we're asking for, but at the end of the day, we're going to cut down on events. We're going to cut down on that impact is not going to be the greatest that it can be with less funding. So that's really where we would start is what are our options to continue to still have a great impact, but it's not going to be the greatest that it is.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay. Jane Grove.
Oh, yeah, time is 12.
25 minutes.
So then they're going to bring.
So 15 minutes into.
Actually, when you're speaking, if you wouldn't mind standing closer to that side of the room, because that's where it's picking up your audio.
Okay. The microphone is. It's on good.
Yeah, you're good. Thank you for having us. Thank you for the opportunity to be able to use checkoff money this year. It certainly has been a huge help for us. For 6 years, we were doing this on our own with local donations from organizations, farm implements and whatnot. So we do really appreciate this opportunity. We dubbed ourselves as the Three Farmers Who Care. We do promote and we educate about whole milk
And that was one of the big questions this year, why whole milk? And so as we, throughout the year, we've just gotten more, I mean, you can go on. I don't have the flavor.
Oh, it's right here.
So we've done all the schools. I'd rather somebody else do it actually.
Okay.
We are still the movies. So we've done all the events, I think that we pretty much, projected for. That was, Greenville School, that's Bay. And, later on in our report, we do have the numbers of people who, attended all these events. Hand out milk at most every event. The folks really do need to taste that creaminess of whole milk again. And that is one of the biggest questions, you know, why are we promoting whole milk? We do educate about the different fats of milk that are available. And that's one of the ways we explain the 3.25 in whole milk, because how much fat is in whole milk, and one of the biggest things is skim is no, 1% is 1, 2% is 2, and then we say, so what is whole milk? And a lot of people just still have no clue. We're still educating about it. It's 3.25. We do feel that we have met our goals and objectives. And we do, sometimes, I know when Jay does his table, he does do A2 milk, lactose free. You guys have any other input?
Well, one of the things that's quite interesting is when you ask people, you know, how much fat is in whole milk, most of them don't have any idea. But the other interesting thing is, you can ask them how much fat's in 2%, and they don't have any idea either. So there's a tremendous amount of education that's got to be done here. We have gone to, I didn't add up the number of events here, but we have done about, our goal was to be about 30 or 25,000 people that we would talk to, and we are well up to 35,000 now. And I'll be honest with you, I had a grant person to help write the grant a little bit, and she enlightened me on how to count. And one of those things was, just don't count the samples of milk that you hand out, because we have at least 1/3 of the people that don't take any milk, such as parents. And parents are the ones that you're really looking to talk to anyway. The kids, we want the kids to have milk because of the flavor and how excited they are to have it. But you got to talk to those parents. And one of the reasons the parents don't take milk is a lot of them don't realize that you can have the milk too. You know, so that's what we're. The other thing is, we have in this proposal here that we would like to promote lactose-free milk and A2 milk a little bit more. But honestly, we only have so much time when you have people going through your booth. You know, you get to a fair and it happens to be Kid Day. And honestly, you may have this many people that you have right in this room right now, standing right in front of that booth, waiting for a sample of milk. And there's no way that you can discuss all the different kinds of milk that you have. But it is a tremendously big market. The A2, maybe not the A2, probably is, but certainly the lactose-free milk is a huge market. I would say, and it always concerns me when people go by and they say, I can't have no milk, I'm lactose intolerant. And you wonder, you know, back when we were kids, nobody said they were lactose intolerant. So what's the reason for this? There's some research for somebody to do. And I even had one farmer say, well, why, Jay, are you promoting lactose-free milk? Well, 20% of the Americans, probably about 20% of the Americans think they're lactose intolerant. The Black population thinks they're about 50% lactose intolerant. The Asian population says they're about 75% lactose intolerant. huge, huge market. I don't know how we'll get to those people, but that's a huge market.
Continue on. I know we only have 20 minutes. So we are asking for 47,000. We did get a dispenser machine. We did buy one used. And that turned out to be really awesome. I mean, people love seeing that nostalgia. Colesville Fair is where we used it. We ended up being in a different spot at Colesville Fair, and we ended up going through twice as much milk. At the end of the week, we ended up getting half gallons, because we ran out of the bag milk. And there are just so many places where you can get bag milk. So next year we will know better. But we did end up serving milk throughout the whole fair. One of the questions I think you folks had last year was, would we be able to get more help if we thought we had more funds? And we are getting more help. And it just so happens we're running into folks that are retired school teachers, retired cafeteria manager, those kind of folks, and Ag and Markets employee also. And once they've done an hour, they're hooked. It is just, we are getting more help. And so I think there is another page where it shows where we've been. We've already done all the way down through to here. I did manage to meet the MOOC crew that you were all talking about. I can't remember whether it was Brian or Ryan. I watched them unfold that trailer. It was awesome. I didn't get to get in it because I set up the day before, and unfortunately I had a funeral to go to that Sunday. It was Montgomery County, at the Bellinger Orchard, Sunday on the farm in Montgomery County. And so that was kind of neat. Well, the way we set up that day was we set up our tent at the exit stairs where people were coming out to hand out milk. And I can't remember which one of the gentlemen it was, the dark-haired gentleman. Is that Brian? They wouldn't let me in because they didn't have this is how safety featured they are. I couldn't get in because they didn't have the safety rails up yet. And I did not get to see it, but I assume they're going to be at Colesville, SUNY Colesville. It was funny because I was joking with them. I saw the one writing on there. It said, did you know that whole milk was 97% fat free? And I hollered in, I said, geez, I didn't know that. And he goes, oh yeah. He goes, a lot of people don't know it. So I said, you know who I am? So that was fun, but that worked perfectly. We were outside. He said that'll be actually cool that you guys are out here handing out samples of milk because people come through looking for milk to sample. So that really collaborated very nicely.
So you're at the 6.5 minutes left.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. I mean, we've hit pretty much all of these.
And hollows.
And we've got a few more options to go.
One thing we wanted to share is because here in New York, Three Farmers Who Care, one thing we changed it to red and white to match like a red jug for whole milk back at school. And I'd just like to say this quick. I was helping Jay at a fair event here this last week, and you never know the question that's going to ask you. This family came right up beside me, and this young man, he says, we do not, our whole family does not like what you're doing at all. I'm like, okay, why? And he says, well, and his mom and dad and brother, sister are there. They said, well, cows are bad for the earth. They're ruining the earth. That's why it's warming, and the methane and everything. And I said, well, okay. Can I explain this to you? I said, I don't know the total numbers, but coming from a dairy farm, I'm just going to kind of wing this. Say there's 300,000 cows, 3 million cows. I said, but there's 800 million people who, I'm thinking there's a little more methane. You really need to look at this whole picture. I said, where are you hearing this? And he says, well, on Facebook. And he says, we're seeing it on the news. I said, well, we're right out here in the mix with the farmers. It doesn't matter if it's Amish, Mennonites, English. I haven't heard this at all. So when I got back home, I called 2 nutritionists that I work with. And I said, hey, this got asked at the fair. And, you know, could you point me in a direction? And they said, well, call John Clark, which I ended up, went to school with John Clark. He was a year ahead of me. And they actually have like a bicarb, a bag, you know, that you can add in the feed now and so on, that will cut down on the methane and so on. So it was a learning lesson for me. I said, John, please send me that information so that we have it in our booth and can take it with us, because you never know what question's coming at you. And you need to be prepared, so.
I know our time is just about up, but I just wanted to say, we are completely volunteers. We don't get a cent for what we do. And I have personally put in about 50 days this year doing this. And so, I don't know what
Well, we love what we're doing.
what we do love, and it's wonderful talking to the people.
Questions? How many events do you feel you, go ahead.
Microphone?
Mike, what's the expense on buying the milk? You know, you got some local dairies that are helping you with it, donating it.
Well, previous to this, we did get a lot of donations, yes, and now we are able to purchase a lot of that milk. And if we're doing, half gallons, it's, you know, and we've been doing it all along cups. The ice, yeah, that's what we're spending money on. And it helps with our travel. I'll tell you, I can't believe how much the miles have racked up in the past 6 years for all of us. And I said, I can't believe we never kept track of it before. And we are now, and it's like, wow. So it's been very helpful, yes.
How many people do you think you'll be able to contact or have impression on by the end of this season? Are you gonna be close to about 20,000? Right.
Well, we're already at 35.
Yeah, we're,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just, a lot of that hasn't been, was not updated. It was to be determined. Like I said, we've already gone down through all this, so our numbers are gonna be a little low. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that I think if you guys needed resources, you could reach out to Dane or DMI to get resources to help for questions like that. And I believe they're free of charge. Is that correct? So I would encourage you guys to do that.
I don't think he expected that one. I wasn't there that day, so.
yeah, you never know the questions coming at you.
How many people do you feel you're gonna hit in 2026?
Probably about the same, I would say, unless we can get out to more events. We're all pretty much equipped with our own stuff so that we can each go our separate ways.
It would be endless on how many events we could do if we had the time. But I still have a life to live, and 50 days doing this, and sometimes when you're at a fair, you know, you've been there for 6 days from 7 in the morning until 10 at night. You're wondering if it's actually worth it.
Jay, I've known you for 35 years. I'm not sure you got an extra life to live. Well, this whole milk thing is really good for you, because I really put it in a whole milk, and I've lost 30 pounds in the last 4 months. Just, you know, wonderful thing for you.
We're testing.
I have to tell you quick, the best thing we've done is the three of us bringing this out to the public. And Ann, you know, number one, she's a dairy farmer, her family, DHIA, a grandmother. I have an excavating business that I have, and then I just took this on. A friend of mine and I purchased a feed mill in Central Bridge. We feel it's a vital piece of history that shouldn't disappear out of our county and beyond. It's the only one out of 5 feed mills that can make mashed meal feeds, and it's got a pellet mill in it. The other 4 mills are totally gone. And we did the family farm day through Cooperative Extension. 2 days in a row, Saturday, Sunday, the 23rd and 24th of August. I did not get lunch. It was grab a water, give a tour, grab a water, give a tour. The general population is coming to ag, and they want to see more and they want to know more. So this is a wonderful, wonderful saying that everyone's doing.
And I know, Larry, I won't get another 74 years. But I have some wonderful grandchildren that I'm gonna be around for a while for.
Those are the ones we need to train.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
Sure.
No. Don't be afraid, I know you're not.
We'll just kick it right off. Thank you again for the opportunity. Excited to be here.
I ask a small favor.
Yeah. Step forward. We'll project too.
Older people.
I've been yelling at kids for, I've got an 8-week-old tomorrow at home, so I've been yelling at the toddler and I'll be projecting. I'll bring out the cats.
Bring out the mom voice.
It's kind yelling, right? Don't do this. All right, jump right into it. So here's the team. We always like to just bring everyone who couldn't be here with us today to the boardroom. You may see new faces. Lauren joined the team in the beginning of the year. This year, we have worked with her in her previous capacity. She's a great graphic designer, has been really took the reins and has been doing a great job working with us. Excited to have her on the team. Also, team leaders have been on leave for the last 8 weeks. So while we're a nimble team, this is always our more priority and everyone steps up, and we're excited to be here again today to talk with you all. So looking at proposed projects for 2026, continuation of Dairy for Good, continuation of the Dairy Toolbox. We do have a slight increase, and we're going to go through some of the details of that as we walk through the slides, but just to call them out here, we have slight increase, 1,000 for the video series to cover for travel costs based on what our concepts are for 2026. We added photography in that has been in previously, and we'll get into more details as to why we've added that in again this year for consideration. We also included a slight add for digital ads, also due to the fact that we have new concepts for the video series that's going to add new campaigns. And the media training, we'll talk a little bit more about that too in the coming slides.
So starting with our Dairy for Good project, this is what we call Project One, helps to improve the perception of New York State dairy farmers, producers, and products with a key focus on environmental stewardship and sustainability efforts. All of the videos and posts that we've done are all with the support of fact-driven information and in the effort to continue to educate the audiences of our pages and to followers and beyond. All right, so the overview of deliverables for this part of our project is our social media management, which includes Instagram, Facebook, Twitter/X, and our YouTube accounts, as well as website management and deliverables. So continuing to post those approved and finished product videos to be shared on both social media and the website, using keywords to improve any searches that are made around Dairy for Good specific to sustainability efforts and what we share there. Also, in part of the campaign management is video production and the planning process that goes behind that, from research to finding the people that we'd like to speak to and spotlight, to the discovery meetings, different research, and then setting up those shoots from there. Here's just an example of our most recent month. This is how we plan our social media from month to month. And then there's also examples of our followings on each of our different platforms. We have Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter again. So all of those will be shared through this Loomly account is what we use, but then we've also found that for video interaction and impressions, we do those independently as well.
So looking at the Dairy for Good video shoots, our concepts for 2026, our goal is to reach Gen Z and especially Alpha. That hasn't been a priority up until now, but some of the concepts that we
have been in talk with partners over the last few weeks to build out that calendar for next year. Our focus would be Alpha and Gen Z. We have listed out some of the concepts here, and we don't want to get ahead of ourselves and actually talk about full on what our video contests will be, because they are kind of in process with talking with those partners. But we definitely are going to get Gen Z involved and the Alpha folks as well to be some of those spokespeople to talk to their peers to get folks interested and educated on dairy stewardship efforts. So that's our goal for 2026. And most recently, when it comes to the video shoots that we've been working on for this year, we most recently were at RIT. We worked with natural upcycling. So we're continuing to brainstorm some of those groups that are within the dairy industry that support environmental stewardship efforts that have a large following, to one, highlight what they're doing, two, collaborate with them on social media so we can continue to build our reach, and three, just meet those goals that we're trying to accomplish through this effort. So looking forward to finishing those videos too, and wrapping up this year on a high note with some of those great partnerships. I do want to underscore too, thank you, Hannah Eileen, for the shout out with our monthly calls. I think those have been really helpful in terms of us connecting with some of these video spokespeople and being able to plan ahead of time, working with Jeb and his team, New York Dairy, and NYAC, to make sure we're using resources as best as possible, not overlapping, and sharing those resources to do what we are all working to do. So for photography, this was mentioned a couple minutes ago. So we added this back in for consideration for 2026, because we truly believe that being able to dedicate more time on the ground and an individual to take photos of content where we go for these video shoots will be helpful not only for us, but specifically for those groups that we're collaborating with. So again, I mentioned those monthly calls. We would like to be able to plan ahead of time, talking with Jeb and his team and the NYAC team. These are the shoots that we have coming up. What's on your calendar coming up? Would capturing photos of XYZ at this location, help you meet the goals that you're trying to roll out over the next month? A lot of times we'll get on our calls and they'll be, we're looking for content and sharing content all the time. But if we can be more proactive, it'll help us to, instead of, hearing that, does anyone have this content? We're taking time to, search for it on our end, but we could be more organized by us, CPC could be more organized by knowing ahead of time, we're looking for this content, and us working with our other contractor partners too. We can know ahead of time, build those shot lists, have that those images, share them proactively, and build those calendars together. We think it'd be really beneficial for all of us trying to do what we're doing on behalf of the board and the industry. So we've added that back in for consideration, and hoping to be able to do more with the photos. We included a couple of examples of images we were able to capture at some of the shoots previously, featured in the mobile dairy experience, which is really exciting to see. For the paid ad campaign, so we did a 12.5% increase to this. Again, for consideration based on the concepts we have for 2026. So we want to continue the campaigns we've had going and the target audiences that we've been working on, but we want to add campaigns to what we've been doing previously, which is where that increase comes from, to specifically target Alpha and Gen Z with the videos that we're going to be producing for next year. They're part of our key audiences now, but what we're hoping and planning for 2026, the messaging will be different. So we'll be needing to create new campaigns. This will help us cover that across the social media platforms for 2026.
And I think too, a couple of these are examples of kind of more snippets from the larger videos. So now that we have had a little bit more in our tool belt, so to speak, for content and video purposes, we're able to pull from that. So for Water Quality Month, we're able to pull from a video we've already shared and used, and then we're able to put some money behind that again. So just kind of reiterating and layering that sentiment.
Continuing with our collaborations too. Last year we had a number of collaborations with some of our DPO partners and other organizations within the industry in New York State. And this year, our goal was to increase those collaborations even more, and we're definitely on track to do that for the end of the year, which is exciting too. So it only gets our message and other dairy industry partners' messages in front of more people. And here's just a quick look at comparing over the last year how our social media platforms have done. They're in the packet there, so I won't go through them in detail because we're talking about 2026. We just wanted to show the reach, the significant reach that we have had so far, and that we look forward to building on for the next year.
6 minutes left.
Thank you.
And switching over to project 2, which is the New York Dairy Toolbox, which can be helpful when people are out and about and have those resources on hand to share specific to sustainability efforts. Moving forward in 2026, we will continue to update our toolbox with our partner information. We've started to build those sections out to be able to link back to either sustainability efforts or just reiterating those resources that are available to our partners that are actually on the next slide that will be listed. And also continuing our translations. And in the last meeting, we were asked about downloads. And while we're still trying to figure out the best way to show what has been shared, we have gotten close to 300 downloads on the back end of our website, which was exciting to see just since we've launched last year. And the translated versions have also started picking up as of their launch in June too.
I'll just add real quick too, the differentiating downloads versus shares, because the way we built the website, you can share the content directly from the website to your social media channels. Then there's also that option to download directly to your desktop or what have you to print out materials, bring into events. So both of those we're seeing an increase of, and we're working to improve being able to track the actual shares and seeing where those are going and how many. But for the downloads question, that it's kind of a hard and fast number that we can see in the back end and track those downloads. So we're continuing to see how we can increase both of those moving forward.
And a new part to this project also would be an earned media campaign around the Dairy Toolbox leading into June as Dairy Month, with just another way to push the information out to potential ag publications or regional media markets and also getting it in front of the new audience. And here's some examples of the way that the toolbox has been shared through partnerships, our partners who are listed on the website, and will continue to be, as we expand, their sections will expand as well. And then next we have a couple of examples. We had a great time at the Dairy Co Working Center with NYAC, and we were able to share some of our, it was kind of like Dairy Toolbox and Dairy for Good in action, and we were able to work all together to get that information out. And our videos were playing, and we were able to capture some content that will be shared on our pages. So just an example of some great collaboration. Vert Media helped us push this out, and at the front end of it, yeah, we had some great material. We had Pro Dairy there. That's what I was thinking. Pro Dairy joined us as well, who's been a great partner to talk through some sustainability demonstrations.
So media and community relations training, we were able to do a great training last year. It happened, well, this year in January, feels like it was a year ago. It was a great training at the Pro Dairy conference, even with, it was a snowstorm that day and some folks weren't able to make it, but we, the folks who weren't able to go, we still got them the materials after the fact. And we were hoping to do another media training this year, and we've been in talk with help from NYSDPO, helping coordinate these conversations, and Pro Dairy, the conference that's taking place in March, as well as being connected with CMI. We've been in talks with getting us in front of their farmers and supporting some media training with them as well. So the hope would be we could potentially do 2 back-to-back to save on travel costs. So go to the conference and then potentially the next day work with the farmers that work with CMI to be able to do training with them as well and some of their teams. So that's in the works, and we hope to be able to do more media training there as well. And that concludes, and we are opening up to questions, please.
Question. Still trying to figure out how you're getting this out. Because we were way behind and now we're like 25 minutes.
People were short. People were short.
Casey.
Yes, no, and I, don't credit me. I didn't do anything. So, yeah. No miracles on my behalf. Oh, hang on.
Oh, yeah. Already been quiet this morning, so I'm sorry to do this now. You're welcome.
So I like how you guys are doing a really good job of explaining all the collaboration that you're doing across different things. So just curious, of all the different groups that you had up there, I don't see anything with a date this one.
Not necessarily. I mean, we did, last year, we worked on a collaboration with the butter sculpture. We had that thought in mind this year. And around, was it Butter Day? Was it fall?
Yes.
National Butter Day, right? We did a collab post. So it's really on us in time, to also connect with them. I don't want to say it's easy because we already have the calls set up and scheduled with NYAC and New York Dairy, which is great. We have a shared Slack channel. So it's really more on us that we need to reach out to a Dane more proactively to be able to set up more collaborations.
I'm just curious, like.
I think
It took us a while to kind of get in the group with the other groups too, so I mean,
It
we're
seems
open
like-
to it.
seems like every year. What's this, the third time I've done?
Sure.
Yeah. Every year, more and more of all the groups are working together. I like to see that.
Well, that makes it easy.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, we need, hard.
Okay, Elizabeth, edit. It's not gonna go.
It could have been worse, Sarah. It's all right. That's right. Yes, it's been worse. But I think I get a little confused on the different things I see on social media, which isn't a bad thing. But I would encourage you to keep using Pro Dairy because they have so much material on this. Instead of, don't recreate the wheel, utilize them. There's a lot of smart people there doing a lot of stuff with sustainability. So if we can get that information out there more too, that's a really good thing. And then maybe the people from Three Farmers That Care you could give them a little idea of what you have for materials on your toolkit, because let's get that information out, because those are the questions people ask and they have to be ready to answer those questions. So, and that's not a slam, that's just utilize what's out there, right?
And you make a great point, Julie, because the folks at Pro Dairy, like Carl, he's been a great partner, especially with the toolbox, helping us. He's been eyes on all the material, which we've been translating this year, and they really have been a really good partner. And I think, to your point, leaning on them even more. And we're in conversation with them too to make sure that they have a section on the toolbox website. So we're hoping to have that up and running later this fall, and we'll make sure we get their materials on there too.
Yes, the 72,000 in paid digital ads, those are, when you buy that, are you putting like your videos out and send an ad?
Yes, so they are digital ads on our social media channels, YouTube and Google. And it's using the videos, the reels that we're creating, some of the graphics. The one that we've seen do very well is the percentage of family dairy farms in New York State, or family farms, which includes dairy farms in New York State. That statistic and graphic the number of comments on there and shares, I was surprised because that really is done just as good, if not better in some cases, in some of the videos. So we are continuing to do the A/B testing and including all of those materials with our ads. Yeah.
My question was, we had a large ask this year and we don't have as much money. Is there a place that you can trim and still have good impact?
Yes. We did add photography back in this year. That was cut last year. We just wanted to raise, because we do think that there's a lot of value there, especially as we have continued to strengthen and build the relationships with other TPO contractors. And we do think that there's opportunity there for us to be able to get even more content, because we're here when we go or on the ground for the video shoots. and knowing what's coming up with some of our partners, if we can spend a little bit more time there and time in the editing suite to get that content out, we think that'd be great. But understanding budgets and costs, I think, that could be a place, and digital ads is always where we really get those results and can track and see those stats. But we do understand too, if there needs to be cuts, we can work with, the digital ad budget too. But we do think that, the slight increase will help us really get in front of Alpha and Gen Z, establish those news campaigns, and continue to bring the stats and grow the following and spread the word about sustainability through that effort.
Plus the mental health browser, the studying environment.
Right.
Exactly. Are you finding any of your social media engagements are being able to be monetized for you folks at all? Or?
Monetized, we have not had that conversation yet. Not yet. I think especially because looking back on the last year, it was really last summer we fully launched. So we're just kind of past like a year or so of establishing and building. But it's definitely something worth considering, and maybe even through some of the partnerships, seeing how we can do that. And even when Nyack was up there too, we were thinking in the back room, is there ways that we can put our heads together with like the mobile dairy experience and building their following and the Dairy for Good following through the sustainability. And I know I'm jumping the gun without even having those conversations, but we're definitely, the wheels are turning in that front. There may be a place to talk about that as well and see where that might fit.
Very good. Super. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Elizabeth, I'm turning it to you.
Lunch will be here at 1. Then start, you just have to eat a little bit quicker if you want to eat a while.
No. Huh?
Lunch is gonna be there at 1, so.
Yeah.
So we have.
Oh, if we want to start, so who's?
No.
Well, I think he's saying we can move somebody up, as if I'm reading his mind. No?
Saying from here at 1, we could just cut it short.
So I'm just saying we'll move it up. You guys will just have to eat a little bit quicker.
Right. So we start lunch now.
Yes.
And then
It'll be.
we'll
in the bathroom.
We're gonna start at 1:40. Yeah.
Then after we can start back up at 1:45.
I'm a little slow.
Are they here?
Yes. We're on.
Or if the person's willing to go, that's only 2 to 2:25. That's a short one. That's fine. Wait.
We're breaking right now.
Usually Larry wants to keep on going. All right, so we're gonna mute.
Just say.
Okay, let's just see. Yep, there we go. Okay, and Jen is. I can, yes.
Hold on 1 second, because Casey's not here.
I already did that. Yep. Where, do you want me to, should I stand up closer?
Right out there.
Right there, okay, got it. Okay. Great, all right. Well, first, thank you to the board for the opportunity to present our renewal proposal for Dairy Runway, which everyone here knows this is the entrepreneurship program for food innovators who are at the early stages of developing a value-added dairy product. I'm Amanda Pittman. I am a member of Cornell Center for Regional Economic Advancement's Food and Ag Innovation Team, which is led by Jen Smith, who's here with me today. So as I think probably everyone here remembers, the program launched in 2023, right, with funding from the DPO. Thank you. Year 2 of the program concludes the end of this December, right? So the end of this year. We're here today to request for funding for year 3 of Dairy Runway. So you may remember that the idea for this program came out of a collaboration between CREA, where I work, and Cornell's Northeast Dairy Foods Research Center. And over the past 2 years, Korea has been working very closely with Cornell Cows, specifically its dairy extension team, to really refine the program experience for participants. You've seen this before, you've seen the team. We have been able to, over the past 2 years, really keep the team consistent, which we see as a real advantage. We want to maintain that consistency going forward. It's enabled us to make, pretty quick and slight adjustments from cohort to cohort. So again, it's a real, it's a mix of Cornell Cows and Korea, right? So this is a team of people with a variety of career experiences and expertise who can support the team. We have, in terms of the Cornell Cows folks, we do have one new team member. So Beth Chapin, some of you may be familiar with her. She's joining Cornell from Cayuga Milk Ingredients. She joined the team this summer and has been a terrific addition. We're working more and more closely with the team up at Cornell Agritech that's running the Seneca Foods pilot plant up there, and they also run the Food Innovation Lab. So we're strengthening that relationship. And I've talked about our instructors before, Ken and Heather, right? Both experienced entrepreneurs who have launched products and technology and systems before. So these are 3 goals, the 2026 DPO goals that we, aim to advance through the program. Your goals obviously inform and shape the goals for the Dairy Runway program that have remained consistent over the 4 years. So, right, we've designed the program to provide the knowledge, the technical skills, and the mentorship that food innovators need in order to expand their entrepreneurial capacity. We want to help them develop a set of skills that is in many ways repeatable, right? A set of skills that they can apply to a variety of value-added dairy products. We've talked about this before, that we really believe that by supporting the advancement of new or improved products can really help to popularize the consumption of dairy, right? Which then leads to the increased utilization of dairy products that are coming out of the state. So that's how we have designed this program, how we are approaching this program. So why is it important to support food innovators who are at the early stage of product development? We need more dairy entrepreneurs who understand where consumer needs are today. We need more food innovators who understand that it's their job as an entrepreneur to produce a product that meets consumer needs, that in many ways solves a problem for consumers, right? That is adding value to the consumer experience. Now, it may seem like a stretch to have Dairy Runway graduate Benita Casbo sharing the same slide with a billionaire entrepreneur, Hamdi Ulukaya, right, who's the founder of Chobani, but in many ways it isn't. Benita Casbo came to this country from Syria, right? She raises her family here, and she can't find the cheese that's very common in Syria and other countries across the Middle East. It's like this white, mild table cheese. It's very versatile. It's easy to melt. It's delicious. She can't find a quality version of it here in the US. She is shopping in the grocery store, a mom, right, looking for food for her kids. She also knows, while she's thinking about this product and starting to experiment with it at home, she also knows that people here in the US are looking for ways to increase their protein intake, right? But she knows that people don't want over-processed food. Hamdi Ulukaya comes to this country, I think in like the mid-90s, right? And through a circuitous path ends up in upstate New York, right? He starts his entrepreneurial journey focusing on a quality feta cheese that he's unable to find here in this country, right? A feta that is common in Turkey and other Mediterranean countries. He then pivots to the strained yogurt that we're all familiar with now, right? And again, that was a yogurt that was very common in Turkey and other countries in the Mediterranean. He couldn't find a quality version of it here. Benita Casbo has the same drive and determination as Hamdi Ulukaya, but what she realized she was missing was that ability, that skill, like the knowledge to put together a business hypothesis for her product, right? She was making a lot of assumptions about the need for her product. So that's what she got out of Dairy Runway, right? Through the entrepreneurship course, she learned what I've talked about before, the customer discovery process, right? That helped her form her business hypothesis and test against it, helped her develop a business model canvas, which is really the like preliminary business model, right? She has now secured a grant from the NEDBIC to work with a co-packer, and she's in conversations with a major retailer to bring her product to the shelves of their New York City office. Another way of looking at the value of the program is if you think about, you are providing the building blocks for early stage entrepreneurs to be able to be more competitive, position themselves to access the resources, the accelerators, the business competitions, the grants that are available for startups that are at that growth stage, right? We're working with entrepreneurs who are at the idea stage, right? Experimenting. They need to develop their business hypothesis. Then there's a whole set of startups that are at that growth stage, right? We need to provide entrepreneurs with those building blocks that will get them so that they can access those resources. Scene, I've talked about Scene before, they're a terrific example of this, right? They are the team that's developing this chewable calcium chew, made from milk protein and minerals and dates, right? So they came to the program with sort of like a general broad hypothesis, thinking that their product was probably for women in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who were concerned about bone density. They were able to, through the program, really refine their hypothesis and came out really focusing on perimenopausal, menopausal women, recognizing the global market opportunity for that, right? They were able to be paired with a mentor who had worked for years as a McKinsey consultant, started her own firm that was focused on startups in the health and wellness space, right? They were able to connect with the Cornell Food Venture Center, access the Food Innovation Lab, and really refine the formula for their product so they could go out and work with a small co-packer and secure a grant from the NEDBIC. And just this past August is now a finalist in the Grow New York competition. So for year 3, the structure of the program really will, stay the same. So we now know that we can support 2 cohorts per year. Each cohort is averaging around 8 teams. Each cohort goes through this entrepreneurship course first, right? That's where they're learning about the customer discovery, the business model canvas. They cannot advance into the kitchen incubator phase of the program when they start to do the prototyping and working with a coach until they successfully complete the entrepreneurship course. So this will really stay the same. Just a deeper dive into the customer discovery, into the entrepreneurship course. Again, this is the 7-week course. It is virtual, it is synchronous. It's about 2 hours per week. They're doing offline work as well. And again, the primary focus will remain the customer discovery process, learning how to develop that set of questions that they use in their interviews with potential customers to further develop and push up against the business hypothesis that they are creating through the class, right? Learning how to put together a business model canvas for their product. Doing that while they are also engaging with subject matter experts. I've talked about this before, learning like the role of a marketing agency, learning how to engage with retailers like Wegmans, right? Wegmans comes in, talks about what they're seeing in their dairy aisle section, how to engage with a retailer. Also engaging with organizations like DMI, right? They have come in to each present before each cohort talking about the recent research that they're doing around consumer preferences, right? That's a great value to the class. Then they shift into the prototyping. So again, each team going forward will have 2 full days to work in person with the team that manages the Food Processing Development Lab in Ithaca, or up in Geneva, the pilot plant up there. They are also getting that one-on-one coaching, right? So Priya has spent a lot of time over the past 2 years working very closely with the Cornell Dairy team that's managing what we refer to as the SPDL. We have really worked hard to refine the process, refine the onboarding experience for participants so that they are able to make the most of the prototyping time that they're spending in the FPDL. It can be really, and I'm sure many of you know this, it can be really overwhelming when you're suddenly in a pilot plant, right? So we have worked hard to really strengthen the onboarding process. So I've mentioned before, you know, we developed a prep form with the dairy extension team to sort of mimic what it'd be like to work with a co-packer. And this fall, we are starting conversations with Beth Chapin actually to really expand on that prep form and develop guidelines to improve that prep time going into the FPDL. And really actually start to develop a packet that would be very similar to what a producer would go to a co-packer with. So that's a goal for this fall. And this is actually a team, this is our current cohort, 2 women who are of Hungarian descent. Their parents came over here from Hungary, and they're developing a quark type product. So it's like a mix of cottage cheese and Greek yogurt. So this is a preliminary meeting with our dairy extension team. So, you know, the coaching and the approach that we've been using for coaching will stay the same. We will pair each team with a coach, right? Many of them are our Cornell Entrepreneurs residents. Each team gets up to 6 hours of coaching, and this is really taking place while they're doing the prototyping. So again, the coach's role is to help them determine how does my experience while prototyping impact the business model canvas that I'm developing. So we've been working now with these coaches. We have, I think, a group of 10 now. We've been working with them pretty consistently over the past 2 years. So now we are seeing them work together as a team, right? They all know each other. So that's really helpful because if we have a participant that has a question, a very specific question that's technical that one of our coaches doesn't have experience with, they can turn to another coach. So that's something that we have seen evolve over the past 2 years, and it's really modeled after the Grow New York experience.
Okay, we're at 10 minutes left. So
10 minutes left? Okay.
You need to allow some time for questions.
Yep, okay. And then they're also helping them put together their pitch deck, which is part of the sort of culminating event, right? Everyone has to participate in a virtual pitch session. So I've touched on most of these resources that are part of the program, right? Prototyping, coaching. Everyone has access to the Cornell Library, right? So they can access pitch deck and other resources like that. Industry support. So we are developing a cohort of Cornell food science alums who are available for one-off questions coming out of the prototyping sessions. That's something that we've just started in year 2. And then participant support. So we can cover some of the travel expenses that participants incur when they are spending time up in Ithaca and Geneva, right? So some are spending at the very least 2 days. It's typically 2 to 4 days. And also some of the dairy ingredients. So marketing, the marketing campaign is really focused on recruitment, right? It's about getting applicants to the program. It's about informing potential food innovators about what the program has to offer. We now have an infrastructure and system in place. We work very closely with the marketing team at CREA, and we're really able to now tap into our Cornell partners, right? So Cornell Extension, so the county offices that are really boots on the ground, Cornell Pro Dairy. We also work closely with all of the entrepreneurship programs that are affiliated with the university and their alumni. And then obviously, doing outreach via social media. We've really focused on LinkedIn and then the Grow New York Facebook. We do go to some events. We often table with Grow New York, and we have noticed that that's been effective. And we really want to increase our presence at some of the local events, working with the extension team. So measuring success. So one thing that's been super helpful is that we now have Dairy Runway graduates, right? We now have success stories, right? And that has certainly helped our marketing efforts, right? Being able to share the stories out through social media. And we are anticipating that that will, only increase and really help with our outreach. We have found that those stories and the posts that we make via LinkedIn about our graduates is really that's what people are responding to. And we now have graduates that are pushing out their own content that we can hook up with, which is terrific. So that's only growing. Applications. So over the past 4 cohorts, we've seen a total of a little over 100 applications. That's an average of 26, 27 per cohort for a cohort of 8. So what we are seeing is, and this is anecdotal, but we are seeing really an improvement in the quality of applicant. The applications are much more detailed than they were with the first cohort. We think that's partly because we have really refined the application with our dairy extension team. That has helped a lot. And just, the program is known now, and we're really spreading the word. So, and then product advancement. So I've talked a little bit about this. I showed this slide this past summer. This is really looking at year 1, right? Year 2 wraps up in December. So year 1, first 2 cohorts, what we are seeing is that 36% are in this category that we refer to as pre-market development, right? So they are still working with their products, right? They may be working with a coach to further refine their business model canvas. They may be working with a local SBDC. They may be working in a commercial kitchen to further refine the formula for their product, right? But they are sticking with their product. We have a small group, 18%, right, who are in that small sales category, right? So they are building their customer base to be able to work with a co-packer. So that's a total of 54% coming out of the first year that are committed to their product. This 44-45%, the way I look at this is, these are people who are dairy enthusiasts, right? They are committed to dairy, right? They want to produce a value-added dairy product. They now have the set of skills needed that they can apply to other ideas for value-added dairy products, right? So they are now trained to produce another type of value-added dairy product. Okay, am I at time? Am I almost at time?
Pretty
Okay.
much.
Okay, I'm not. So this is the budget we're asking for, $268,940. These are some of the line items. We split the salary, right? So it's some of the salary goes to Cornell Cows. Then there's also a salary line for CREA that includes the majority of our coaches as well. Benefits, that's for CREA. Marketing, that is for, redesigning, producing materials. It's also for, we'll have to update our website. And it is also for, we do some paid advertising, and we do have our distribution service for the press releases that we send out for each cohort. And then we have some travel. So we really want to expand on the events that we've been attending and work closely with the extension team on that and attend some more of the events that they have throughout the state. And then contracts, so that is our graphic designer, and it is 2 coaches as well. Participant support, again, that is for the some of the travel expenses that are incurred to do the prototyping, as well as some of the dairy ingredients, and then the prototyping lines. This is where we have seen the biggest increase. So we started the program and we were paying $1,500 per team per day to be in the FPDL and the facilities, the pilot plant facilities. It's now $2,500 per day. So that's where we are seeing the largest increase. And then,
Yeah, I was gonna
okay,
say,
all right.
yeah.
Okay.
Questions?
I just have a comment. It's $60-some thousand just to an endowment, like just a Cornell. There's no way around that.
Oh, for the indirect costs,
Yeah.
there is not a,
18 or 18%.
right, I mean, it's, yeah,
Yeah, it's certainly not unique to ours, and
right.
I'm not gonna cry poverty on Cornell's behalf, but I think probably everybody's aware that there's,
Billion endowment, they want more money.
you know, a $1 million shortfall, and, you know, what we're looking to do is produce this one program, and these are the big costs associated with it. I hear you on the frustration about the macro.
But you micro and micro costs for everything that.
Not micro in the sense of diminished, micro in the sense of it's what we have to pay to the institution.
It's a cost of us doing anything. As a dairy farmer.
My question is, out of $268,900, how much does the participant see other than they get the use of the kitchen for no cost to them? The rest of it is staff endowment, Cornell, correct?
No, so they also get participant support, right? And they're getting the entrepreneurship course, right? So for 7 weeks, they're spending 2 hours with our instructors to learn about the customer discovery process. They're also getting the one-on-one coaching as part of that kitchen incubator. So it's the course, it's access to the instructors. They also meet one-on-one with the instructors. It's access to the subject matter experts that participate in the course. They're also accessing Canvas, which is where they have to do a lot of work outside of the course, right? So they're accessing all the materials through Canvas. They're getting the coaching, and they're also accessing the Cornell library system. So there's a lot there.
It's also the lab time and the materials in the lab, right? So they're making a dairy product and they're using this state-of-the-art equipment to make sure they're able to make a product that's scalable and the ingredients that go into the product.
My next question is, how many hours, I don't care, a week, cohort, do these coaches, these salary people, they're not devoting 40 hours a week for 15 weeks to this?
No. So it's really, we don't structure that time. Most teams are spending about 6 hours with their coach. And it's up to the coach and the team as to like what that schedule looks like, right? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm asking on the staff side, how many?
We got me.
We
like
get
me.
some $1,000 is just the top plus benefits. You get $100-some-thousand. I'm sorry, but as a farmer struggling to see any money at the end of the week, that's a lot of money for. My question is, how many hours a week or how many weeks a year?
Am I spending?
Are these? Is this salary covered?
Oh, I see. So that is.
We're not getting anything. They're getting paid too. That's their salary. So what are they earning in a full year if they work 40 hours on this?
So it's 50% of Amanda's time. It's 10% of my time. It's I'm going to say it's 10% of our finance team's time. It's also some Cal staff's time, some mentors' time. So that's not a person's salary. That's portions of a number of people.
Right. I'm aware of that, but that's not. The question is on the average, or how many hours of staffing are we supporting with the staff? We don't have any idea.
No, I don't think it's fair to say I don't have any idea. I'm just taking a moment to run through. So do you want it a week or
whatever way you want?
So because we do it in percent. So 50% of Amanda's time is budgeted against this program. 10% of my time. So, that is a half day of my time, and 2.5 days of Amanda's time. We also have
marketing support, we have our finance team. We Is have there a anything project else? associate in terms of the TA.
You're a half a day, you got 10 others at half a day, it's another 5 days. 5 days per week.
I mean, is it, so you're looking for like how many hours am I?
I'm trying to figure out how much all these people are earning when we're not getting a whole heck of a lot of dollars back with dairy promotion. I mean, our farmers want us to spend this money to get them the best return on their investment,
Right,
to sell more milk.
right, but it's
And I
also,
understand you're going that way
Right.
eventually. Before the machine's gonna use 100 million pounds of milk so that we can get more than $15 a hundredweight.
it takes between 3 and 7 years for most brands to mature. And I mean, you have to provide the support to get a entrepreneur started, right? They have to start somewhere. If they don't have that foundation, right, they aren't going to make it. So I think it's like, that's where your investment is again. And we've been, really clear that this is investing in entrepreneurs who are at the early stages of developing a product.
Can I jump in for a minute?
Yeah.
So part of the origin story of this was, how do we get more New York State dairy companies involved in programs like Grow New York and PS Venture Fuel and various other challenges and competitions around the country? And the answer is you have to have companies that are ready to grow and scale effectively. So let's invest in the very earliest stage, get them committed to using New York State dairy as an ingredient and building their businesses with the sense and ability so that they can scale. Since initiating the program, we've already got one as a Grow New York finalist, right? That was the objective. We've met that objective. Give us time and funding to A, continue to stock the pond, and then B, my fishing metaphor is going to fall apart, but help the real big fish get into the net. You get where I'm going, right? This is a way to continue to build people into the system.
One of the reasons I looked at this program compared to another program is it's dovetailing that program with Grow New York, who has a lot of funding through the state, right? They have quite a bit of funding. So I think, I'm not saying, not to sway what you're saying, Kim, because I understand what you're saying, but there is a reason to work through this process because there is funding also not from dairy farmers, but the state that is also working with programs like this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just so you're aware, you got 25 minutes and you need to leave us like 7 or 8 minutes for questions, please.
Yes. Thank you for inviting us to present our pitch. Our project is called Identifying the Market Opportunity for a New York State Minimally Processed Milk Voluntary Certification Program. And the render there is an hypothetical, representing our aspiration. So let me talk about our team. You are probably familiar with Dave Barbano, professor in the Department of Food Science. He's going to be one of the PIs for this study. Then my name is Miguel Gomez. I am a professor in the College of Business in the Dyson School, and I am an agricultural and food economist focusing on consumer behavior and consumer demand for food. And then we have Mauricio Guerra, who is going to present the second part of this project. He's a current PhD student in food science, but has a background in the industry for 15 years, and also an MBA. So it's a combination of science and economics in this team. So our presentation is organized first an introduction and give a context in the market, Then Mauricio is going to explain what we mean by minimally processed milk. Then we are going to talk about our project goal and what are our objectives, our methods. Is basically we need to understand the consumer in order to design and implement a voluntary certification program. Then we are going to talk about budget and our next steps. This is the first time we present in this program. So first, our proposal focuses on research, on marketing research, targeting two of the objectives of the DPO. First is do research to create new products, to expand demand. And the second is do research to identify opportunity to ensure the growth of dairy processing in the state. We believe that this initiative can achieve these two goals. Why? You are familiar with this graph. This is sales of packaged fluid milk for the past 15 years. And we see that low-fat milk and skim milk consumption or sales have been declining over the past 15 years. The case for whole milk is different, is flat. Even in recent years, we see a slight increase. Two things to observe here. One is that why is this happening? The flavor of whole milk is better. And the second, the realization of people that you need fat in your health. Whole milk has properties that are desirable. So flavor of the product, and there are some benefits from consumer whole meat as opposed to skim milk. So in this context, food industry in general has a bad reputation. There is a lot of concern of ultra-processed foods. Consumers, especially a segment of consumers, is going to go to the other extreme. And in the case of dairy, is to the consumption of raw milk. It's a category that is small, but there is a lot of pent-up demand, as we see in the market. So we see an opportunity to be in the middle, to offer, to position New York State. I'm going to stop here. The insight here is that consumers are aware more and more of how the food is produced, processed. There is a lot of concern on this, and consumers are looking for health, wellness attributes in their food, as food is health, because health expenditures are becoming too expensive. So in that context, we see the opportunity for exploring this certified minimally processed milk product. And for the first step is to examine the demand. Is there demand for such product? So the opportunity for New York in particular, we would be the first state in the country to offer the option of a certified minimally processed milk if there is demand for this type of product. Minimally processed milk, the differentiation point will be that we can take advantage of the occurring bioactivity of food as medicine that Mauricio is going to explain in just a minute. And based on this point of differentiation, we think that we can achieve a midterm goal of securing and expanding fluid milk market to grow in the future. With that, I will pass it to Mauricio.
Thank you, Dr. Gomez. I'll take the microphone. Can you hear me well? Yeah. So hi, my name is Mauricio. So I work with Dr. Barbeno on the science side and with Dr. Gomez on the marketing side. So let's talk dairy science now. So what is minimally processed milk? Let's think right now of pasteurization, and let's place it on a horizontal scale, meaning temperature, heat treatment, let's place it on a horizontal scale. on the far, on the far right or your left, we have raw milk, so not